but just be here to listen and receive. Okay, so with that being said, I'll let each panelist introduce themselves one by one, and then we'll get into the questions.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Shanique. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I do mental health therapy through my private practice, and I also host events for women blending mental health and beauty together.
My name is Christy Vitiello. I'm an acupuncturist. My practice is on Jackson and Van Ness, so around the corner, basically. I used to say I specialize in sports injury and pain, but truthfully, I love the mental health aspect of it, women's health, and everything else and above, digestion, you name it. So, yeah, and I've been doing it for about 18 years.
I'm Dr. Danielle Geiger. I'm a chiropractor. The practice is in Lower Pack Heights. It's called Thriving Life Wellness Center. I've been practicing for 7 years now, I think, going into year 8. We specialize in women. I have additional training in pregnancy and pediatrics as well, but I see everybody and anybody.
My name is Dr. Tiara Dunson. I'm a physical therapist. I've been practicing for about 8 years now. I'm at the Connell Physical Therapy, which is a small practice in Soma. I specialize in post-operative rehab, so like ACLs, also acute injuries, chronic pain. I work with a variety of patient populations. So, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Excellent. Let's give it up for them. Okay, so I'd like to dive into your individual specialties a little bit more, starting with the root of your work and why it's important for women to incorporate your modality of healing in their lifestyle. So Dr. Tiara, let's start with you and work our way back.
Yeah, sure. So the root of my work is helping people move better and be more confident in their bodies, overcome pain, overcome injuries. Particularly like regarding women, it's important to have a more proactive approach as opposed to reactive. So I see a lot of people that have something happen to them or something breaks down and then they seek out help. So kind of shifting my practice to more of a proactive approach to help people identify issues before they become bigger issues.
Chiropractic has a big umbrella, and so there's many different types of styles, and we specialize in low force and gentle chiropractic techniques. So basically, in a nutshell, that means that we don't do what you'd see on like YouTube or in a movie, the like more high velocity adjustments. So I tend to work with individuals that are like scared of chiropractic, they don't want to be popped, or they had a bad experience. And I like to use the analogy that chiropractic is kind of like brushing and flossing your teeth. If you stop brushing and flossing your teeth, probably within a week, you're going to see it. It's similar, just we don't see the spine every day. It's something that you would feel years and years later. So I always encourage people to get ahead of the problem. But essentially chiropractic is kind of like brushing your spine. We work on mobility and flexibility for the long term. Yeah.
Acupuncture varies for a lot of people. Some people, my patients come in once a week. Some people, if it's acute pain, they come in twice a week. Some people do a monthly tune-up. I definitely encourage my patients to do acupuncture often because the fact is when like I go to acupuncture once a week, I work on my digestion one day, I work on my cycle the other day. I might be getting a cold, and so I want to work on that and get rid of that. And so I tell people you can kind of work on whatever's going, stress, anxiety, that's the big one. And we all have that every day in our lives. So that's why acupuncture is good to, add it into your repertoire.
And I would say mental health isn't separate from the physical. It's actually the foundation, I think, because a lot of the work that we do is the inner work. And as women, I think we are the most gaslit population because a lot of people are telling us that we are to this, to that, and to just fix it, right? Do the journaling, do this and that, and everything will be fine. And most of us are doing those things, and we're not fine. So I think that's kind of where the work is, where the work comes in and why it's so important, because we are able to identify what those core beliefs are at the core, which drive you to overfunction, drive you to overthink and ruminate and show up differently. And when you are able to label what that core belief is, your shoulders relax, your brows become unfurrowed, you're able to just be and relax in yourself. And I think that's why mental health is important, in addition to the physical health as well.
Definitely. I think we all feel that, in some way, shape, or form, someone is hit in here by one or component, or at least maybe 2, 3, 4. We never know. Okay, beautiful. Now, Christy, let's begin with you. So, before symptoms ever appear, disruption is already happening at a cellular level, right? And in traditional Chinese medicine, this is called qi disruption. Can you walk us through what that looks like and feels like, and what it means for a woman's qi to be strong versus compromised?
So in Chinese medicine, the qi flows through the body. We use that energy. And imagine the blood going through the veins. Imagine the qi follows the same, basically energetic, flow. So when you're having good qi and strong qi, this is when you have good energy. You sleep well. You feel less stressed. You have the ability to do other, things you want to add on, like exercise and so forth. When you have qi disruption or stagnation, this is when you're stressed. You can always imagine the body. I always tell people, when people do this, you can't be outward like that, right? You have to be in your job and working, but inside you're doing this. So your qi is getting tight. So that leads to all kinds of different things. Would be pain in the body, or menstrual cramps before, even all month long goes to your menstrual cramps. It could lead to sleep disruption. And then we were talking about, with these questions, give you guys takeaways, what you can do for that. I mean, we're going to talk about exercise, we're going to talk about hormones, we're going to talk about all this, but the idea would be is one key thing you can do is good night sleeps, you guys. 8 hours is your ideal. Not everyone is that. Some people 7, some people 9, some people 8, but 8 hours is ideal. And I always tell my patients to do a power down hour. Before you go to bed, don't be on your phone right there, because I know we all do it. I do it too. I am guilty. But the idea would be is get ready for work. I mean, all of us don't go to work anymore, but I always used to be get your outfit ready, whatever you wear, your scrubs, whatever. And wash your face, brush your teeth, do a meditation, read a real book, not a screen. And then this is something you can do every night. That is the cheapest, freest thing you can do to kind of undisrupt your qi.
For sure. And then, of course, we're going to get into the mental aspect of this all, but we just think about, if your qi is disruption during sleep, then your whole day is disrupted.
The whole
or
day.
Likely to be disrupted, right? Because that is, your sleep is when you get your recovery, is when you heal the body, when the mind heals, all that good stuff. So speaking of healing, Shanique, so we just heard about how the disruption begins before we feel it. And we also know an emotional experience just isn't physical, right? It's biological. So what does chronic stress, unprocessed trauma, emotional dysregulation, dysregulation of the qi to a woman's brain do over time? And how would that manifest in the body?
I think the key terms that we throw around are burnout. I'm burnt out, I'm feeling stressed. And usually that doesn't happen overnight. We don't wake up and oh, I'm burnt out today. It's a gradual shift that happens. And to your point, it does look like lack of sleep, skipping a meal, working through a headache because I got to get this thing done, which brings us to the core beliefs that are underneath that, driving us to push to that point. There's 5 core beliefs that we all hold, and I believe we operate with them at different percentages. There's a belief, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm worthless, I'm helpless, and the world is a dangerous place. So just having those 5 in mind, they can fuel the way that we show up in the world and how we show up in our bodies. And you mentioned sleep. Sometimes when we try to go to sleep, we can't sleep because we're so stressed, which could be true. And it could be that underneath you believe that you aren't good enough for some reason. You have to earn sleep. So I'm not going to sleep because I have to push to do this thing. I have to people please because I feel like if I don't have a function, then I'm not lovable at some level. So when we take the time to name the belief, we can look at the chronic stress that we've been experiencing, because that's chronic, right? It means years of over functioning, performing, putting on this mask and smiling and showing up, when on the inside, we want to walk around like this and have that, be the forefront, I guess. And our amygdala is going off all of the time, scanning for danger, which is good. But in doing that, it is also kind of like a faulty smoke detector, alerting us of things all the time, which does get our body in this heightened state. We enter a hyper arousal state, which means we're outside of our window of tolerance, which is our comfort zone. So we have an excessive amount of energy. If we're in a hypo arousal state, we don't have really much energy at all. So we default to some of those states, and that can disrupt our natural system. We end up dysregulated, we end up pushing and over functioning, and we end up continuing to experience more and more stress.
Interesting. Any questions thus far? Yeah.
Well, what's the way maybe for both of you to help get out of that like hyper or hypo arousal state, especially like in the middle of the night? Like what are some tips? I don't know if that's something for the end, but like just something to help with maybe the nervous system or something.
Yeah, so similar, she mentioned like having a down window. I like to schedule feeling time. So schedule time in your day where you can feel whatever emotion is that you've been putting off. I have crying time throughout my night. I have crying time where I schedule time each night, a 30-minute block just to cry. Most times I don't, but I'm allowing my brain that window to just feel that emotion instead of pushing it off. And as I go through the day, if I'm like, this is something that I would cry about, 6:30 is gonna come tonight, and I'll be able to feel it and actually let myself feel it instead of suppressing or repressing. You're allowing yourself to feel. So I would say schedule some time to feel, and that's what we wanna do. We want to express, we don't wanna suppress or repress our feelings.
I love that idea. I agree with her. That's awesome. The crying time. I love this. I also tell people when you guys are waking in the middle of the night, please don't grab your phone and start looking at it. But I do love the Calm app. And there's one that's literally let's go back to sleep. And he's like, it's okay. It's okay to be awake. He like reassures me that I'm okay, you know? The other thing is if there's a sound in your house, you can start to meditate towards that sound. You can just focus on that sound. Your brain's going to go every which way, and then you bring back to the sound. And usually maybe in the middle of the night, that will start to slowly, bring you back. But I agree, if you kind of deal with your feelings in the middle, and we'll talk about some other stuff like hormones and stuff that might be affecting you in a little bit, but those are some just tips that I tell my patients to do.
Can I add one thing to that too?
Yeah, for sure.
Those are great recommendations, and I would do that as well. But one thing specifically at night that I found that helps me too is, and you might have seen it online, but the box breathing, where breathe in for, I think it's 5 or 6 seconds, hold your breath for the same amount of time, breathe it out for the same amount of time, hold your breath again. I do that 3 or 4 times, I'm out. It just instantly calms me, and I'm always surprised, oh my God, it actually worked. Yeah.
And then I will say, scheduling sleep time, crying time is interesting. I cry in the moment. But also not eating too late will also help not disrupt your sleeping pattern. So then, of course, the cells can do and the body does what it needs to do. That's also a good one, too. Eating early. Okay, wonderful. Now, moving on to Dr. Tiara and Dr. Danielle. So we've established that disruption starts at the cellular level, yes, but the brain and the body are in constant two-way communication. The brain sends instructions to the body reports back. And when a woman is carrying heavy or disrupted internal load, like we've been speaking of emotionally, cellularly, hormonally, that communication breaks down in both directions. So it shows up physically, the inflammation, the tension, the posture, injuries that won't heal. And from a chiropractic and physical therapist standpoint, what are you seeing and feeling in a woman's body when that internal communication has been compromised for just way too long?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go? Okay. You can go. Just to clarify too, she said the highway. So in my practice, we have this physical chart. It's called the nerve Merrick chart, and it just shows you the spine and all the nerves that exit at all the levels of the spine, and they go to everything in the body. So the nerves control the muscles, the organ systems, and specific organs. So you can end up with a lot of these things that Simone listed when a highway is disrupted. So what I'm seeing is, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is like the burnout. Women specifically are so good at adapting in a fight or flight or like a chronic stress mode, which is good in the moment, but long term that just breaks us down even more. So the chronic headaches, fatigue, poor digestion, poor sleep, these are things that they'll tell me where I'm like, that's your check engine light, like going off. Something is, you got to address it at the root cause. When I'm like feeling, what I feel in people are those dense traps and tight jaw. And then I can't tell you, I probably hear once a week, like, can you fix the hump in my neck? It's that like forward head posture, which rolls our shoulders forward. The head goes forward. It puts more stress down on your cervical spine. Some research has shown that that actually shuts off diaphragm function. So if your breathing is wrong, then you're going to feel anxious. So that's one of the first things I check is what's the rib cage doing? What's the diaphragm doing? Are you chest breathing? Oops, sorry. Are you stomach breathing, diaphragmatic breathing? All of those to say, like, those are physical things that I'm seeing, but essentially it's just we're losing our ability to actually heal, relax, and thrive.
Yeah, I would say I've been seeing a lot of digestive issues as well. A lot of tightness throughout the body, particularly like the upper shoulders, and just a reduction in endurance. So just basic low level activities that used to feel pretty easy are now becoming a lot harder. And also seeing some negative self-talk in sessions, things along the lines like, oh, this is never going to get better, or my body is like stuck like this, and just very boxed in levels of thinking and not really seeing themselves outside of the current physical state. So.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. I did have one more answer to your question, CM, about regulation. One thing that I've learned and I've been doing for a long time to help regulate in the evening is showering in the dark. Mm-hmm. And just, having the overhead lights turned off. Mm-hmm. Like, because that is, I feel like it just heightens the energy and just creating a very calm, cozy environment that's a little darker. For me, it like takes me back to the womb. Everyone say hi to my mama. So I feel like it's a womb feeling, it's a very comforting feeling, like, okay, this is allowing me to settle and relax and feel comfortable within my body. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to come back to that. Okay, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, doctors. Thank you. Okay, so we traced the breakdown from cells through the brain into the physical, but there's one system influencing every single stop along the chain, the hormones. Hormones are very intense and interesting. Mm-hmm. And this is not just a reproductive conversation. Hormones are the chemical language for the entire feminine body. Because so much of what we see physically, our movements, our cycles, our energy, our appearance, is a direct reflection of our hormonal environment. So Dr. Tiara, I'm going to go back with you. Estrogen is a major hormone for women, directly affects the ligament elasticity, nervous system sensitivity, muscle recovery. How should a woman move, train, and recover differently depending on where she is in her hormonal cycles and for overall lifetime optimization? What specific areas of the body should women be giving more attention to?
Yeah, so I would say it would start off like viewing exercise as stress, right? And as you go through your menstrual cycle, during the menstrual phase, when you're bleeding, your energy levels are lower, your hormonal levels are lower. Those are the best times to do more restorative work. So like yoga, Pilates, zone 2 cardio, walking, less HIIT or very high intense like lifting and such, because that's going to be taxing on your nervous system and you're already working from a more like depleted state. And then as you shift over into like more of the follicular ovulatory phases, that's when our energy levels shoot up. We just feel a little bit better. We're more social. Those are the times to like hit the gym hard, run hard, lift heavy, do a HIIT class or something more intense, when you have those energy reserves to, one, tolerate the stress, and then two, recover recover from it. And then you're going to drop off into that luteal phase where you're back again to the more like recovery, restorative work, stretching, flexibility, mobility work, etc. And then kind of using that ebb and flow to extrapolate that into, okay, I can make my workout lifestyle like this over the course of time. Like when life gets hectic and you're just stressed, use those times to do more restorative work, right? When things are going good, you're feeling good about yourself, use those times to do like more higher intense efforts. And just ebbing and flowing through that. One, you'll be more consistent, and two, you'll continue to check off the box and feel good about yourself. So when you're like, I just don't feel like doing it, and you just do like 1 minute of stretching, and boom, that's a check. And that feels good. You get that dopamine hit, and it's just easier to continue to build momentum and develop that consistency, which is most important. So going back to your question about like which body areas to focus on, things like legs, shoulders, high intensity running, hard hiking would be more the larger muscle groups during those high energy phases. And then the more restorative work, the accessory movements, getting more in tune with your body during like the lower level periods.
Can you speak to the thought of how quad strength is directly connected to your mental longevity?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So larger muscle groups are going to require more energy, more blood flow, and it's usually going to be doing something that is very taxing on the nervous system. So you were saying, what was your question again?
I've read a lot of studies now that show like women specifically should train legs for like 3 months straight, build the muscle mass in the lower extremities, because once we get to a certain age and the mental health starts to destabilize, it will help energize and optimize long term. Or anyone on the panel, if you've heard of this study.
Yeah, I got you. So usually like those larger muscle groups, so we got the flight or fight state, right? So when we're using something that requires a big amount of energy, we kind of get into that fight state, and that state can bring in adrenaline and dopamine and all these like feel-good chemicals to get ready for whatever is at stake. So that can affect your mental health or just like your mental outlook, so to speak. And also like as we age, our estrogen levels start to decrease. So we start to lose our muscle mass. So we want to really exert some of the larger muscles so we can maintain that muscle mass. So then that decline is less rapid, and we can maintain our mobility and our function, decrease our fall risk, etc.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Danielle. Now, this is very interesting because Danielle, I saw you one time before, and I remember you shared with me about how a placement in the spine was directly connected to my hormones, and releasing that hormonal shift allowed my cycle to come on early. And then not only did it allow it to come on early, but it was like a much different flow. So that was very interesting. And those who know me know that sometimes I have hormonal challenges. So I thought that was very fascinating. So I'm going to talk more about how the spine is essentially the hormonal gateway, which you spoke about earlier, and postural shifts can signal and reflect what's happening internally. So from sitting postures to sleep to internal flexibility, what are practices we should be building into our daily lives to protect our structural alignment and support the internal balance?
I'm going to give a couple of tips and tricks. First, I would say ergonomic workplace setting, especially here in the Bay Area. So many people are just sitting for 10 hours plus. And ergonomic workplace setting does not mean you have to get a standing desk and stand for the whole time, because that's also not great. I usually tell people like once every hour, you need to change up your posture, whether it's you go from sit to stand or stand to sit, or like if you're allowed to just walk around a little bit, or like bathroom break, just something that gets our system out of stagnation would be my recommendation with that. Second, to Christy's point about sleep, is get a pillow that is good cervical support. We are supposed to be spending like 8 to 10 hours on our pillows every night. And if we're sleeping on something that isn't supporting the neck, you could be making a problem worse when you're unconscious. So two of my favorite pillows are Pillow-Wise. That one is tricky because you can't just go online and buy a Pillow-Wise pillow. You have to find somebody who actually can measure you for it. We take 3 different measurements in the neck and shoulders, and then you fit into a pillow that is more ergonomic for your sleep preference and your specific proportions, which we do carry those at the office that I'm at. And then the second one that's a little bit more easy and accessible is called Mellow, and my favorite one is the Cloud Align. So I jump between those 2 pillows and I just swap them out every night. And then third would be find a movement practice, to your point, that is good for you and fits your schedule. I like to say motion is lotion. We need to be doing something to move our bodies so that we're lubricating our joints. And then as a caveat to that, you can do Pilates, you can do yoga, you can do those things, but we, as women, we have to be resistance training as well, strength training, to load our joints, because after menopause, we lose 1% to 2% bone mass every year, which is kind of a lot. So we can do the things now to protect our spines for that future decline. And then to Simone's point as well, like you like the 3M, is that what you called it?
M3.
M3. So I say something similar, like eat well, move well, sleep well so that you can live well. But we can be doing all of those things and it still not actually land in the body and still feel fatigued or burned out or something's not working. And I think it's because you have to address the system at the root cause. So seeing providers like us and somebody who can actually evaluate you from the inside out is crucial. You don't just have to be doing chiropractic, but you should be looking deeper into the system. Yeah.
Can you go deeper into the sleep pillows?
Yeah.
So where does, so say for example, we don't have those tools yet,
Yeah.
but we want to try it tonight. Is there anything you can do for that woman that wants to try it tonight?
Yeah.
Is there a shift?
So depending on if you're a side or a back sleeper, your pillow will change. Back sleepers are slightly less of a thickness of a pillow because you don't want if you're laying on your back, we're trying to avoid the chin forward. And then sometimes people go no pillow, which is okay, but if you're gonna go no pillow, I'd almost just roll up a towel and put something in the curve so that you have a little bit of flexibility through here. And then for my side sleepers, the thing I see is it's this, or the shoulder is too far away and your head is almost cockeyed up this way. So you want your ear to be parallel to the bed. So the pillow has to fill the gap between ear to shoulder. So finding something that does that. If you have a down pillow, sometimes you can smush it up so that it fills the whole gap. That would.
1 or 2 pillows don't matter.
Stacking 2 pillows. If it fills the gap, if one is really thin and then you have to add an extra to get a layer, then I think that's fine. As long as you're not doing this or this. It's hard to show here, but that would be my best advice if you're gonna go do that now or tonight. Yeah.
Something to add to that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there was a question.
No question.
Yes. What about stomach sleep?
Oh, my stomach sleepers. Yeah, women, we do this, the frog, I call it, where your hip is up and the arms are up and your head's turned. I don't condone stomach sleeping, but if you have to do it, put a pillow under your hips to lift so that you're not putting compression on your low back. But it will, you're gonna hit the end at some point with the neck strain because we have to breathe. So you're turning your head from one to side. So you're kind of creating over tense muscles on one side and then turned off muscles on the other side. So you got to get out of it, but you start with the pillow under the hips, then you could try side sleeping with the pillow in your knees and then slowly get to your side. Yeah. It's just, I see so many recurrent spine problems with my stomach sleepers, usually low back.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, it's also helpful to consider when your neck hurts. So sometimes people are my neck hurts when I look up, right? So in that case, having a pillow that is allowing you to rest in that position may not be the best. You may need to go for a thicker pillow that puts you into more flexion is what we call it. Or some people may say, oh, when I look down, it hurts more. So then they may need a pillow that kind of shifts their neck up. So it can also be like very like symptom dependent. There's usually not like a one size fits all. So like consider like under what circumstances does your neck hurt? If your neck hurts when I'm looking at my phone or when I'm typing and you find like you're in this position a lot, maybe switching that up when you sleep to be in a more like extended position and trying that and see if that's helpful for you in terms of pain.
Yeah.
Lumbar pillows, like how does that, because I feel like whenever I try, I want to sleep on my back because I also want to protect my skin like from creping and stuff. But also I feel like because I got a little dump trunk, there's a gap and it doesn't feel the most comfortable. So I'm just like, do those help, or do I need something back here or under my legs, or what do you?
Yeah, we call it like spinal molding, and so this is kind of the piece where like somebody should look and actually evaluate you to be like, oh yeah, this size is better for you based off of what we're finding. But you could do like, again, rolled up towel underneath the back, but definitely lift up the knees. Like I'd put a squishy pillow underneath the knee. So not memory foam because it could be too thick, but something to fill the gap between the knees too, so that you have this at slack, so that your spinal erector muscles, which are the muscles on either side of the spine, can actually like relax when you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
So for back sleepers, you recommend a very thin pillow.
Maybe like this, something feathery, or like whatever like the cotton pillow is, to go under the knees, and then roll up a towel for under the back, low back. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you recommend for people who don't use pillows at all?
You don't sleep with a pillow at all. I would say, is your mattress good? Like you'd want to make sure that you have like a firm, supportive mattress, not something that's super squishy that you're going to sink into. Yeah.
I have a question. So being that the spine is directly connected to the hormones, if you are a woman experiencing hormonal issues, what sort of spine exercises or stretches should you be doing daily?
So exercises specific for hormones
Or stretches?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have like a specific exercise to like target like the hormones entirely. I know like with your experience, we were working on a specific area that controls like menstrual cycle, and so that's maybe why you kind of had that side effect. But anything that mobilizes the spine, like a cat-cow is a good one, and then core stabilizers. So bird dog, dead bug. Do you have other ones that could fit into there?
Those are like the top ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say anything that stretches and also gives you some level of muscle activation can be helpful, because that muscle activation can reduce the tension in your spine, and then also you get the feel-good chemicals from engaging the muscle, which generally help you feel more relaxed and just generally feel better. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Any more questions thus far? Okay, moving on. Christy, one of my favorite conversations. So it's not taught to connect gut hormones to our health in a lot of society, right? We don't connect that. But in a TCM, it's very much so grounded in it, and they are deeply linked. So can you speak about how digestion impacts hormonal synchronization, and if a woman has been neglecting her gut health or eating out of alignment with her natural biology, what are the long-term consequences that she may not be connecting the dots on?
So food is such an important role in Chinese medicine, in all of our medicines. Mm-hmm. And what the idea is, the spleen stomach is the connecting that digests and so forth, but also supports all the hormones, is like the big maker of all the hormones. So we always want to support the spleen. So things I have my patients do is things like eating too much raw food has always been an issue. It does affect the gut then turns out and affects the hormones. Raw food is really taxing on our guts. And so we like our stomach and our spleens like warming food. And so when it gets what it needs, then it starts to process hormones better. Ideas of like eating fat, you guys, fat is so, so important. It is, your omegas are the biggest hormone makers. So you guys get fat, get your coconut oils, your butter, your ghee, avocados, olive oil, nuts. Thank you. I'm rolling them through. That makes hormones. So when people I always ask people right when they come in, we go through a whole health history for about an hour. And I'm like, what do you eat for breakfast? And so many people do not eat breakfast. And this is a huge thing. When I work with perimenopausal women and menopausal women, blood sugar is majority, and adrenal fatigue are the majority of the problem with hormones, with perimenopause and menopause and all the symptoms. Everything from a hot flash to waking in the middle of the night. And what people don't realize, because they're handed hormones all the time, that isn't solving the root problem at all. Your blood sugar, working that out and nourishing your adrenals can probably solve all your problems if we can work on that. So the number one thing to control your blood sugar, you guys, is eating breakfast, please. And not a croissant and not a cup of coffee. All right, that is not breakfast, all right? Please, protein, fat, think egg, avocado. I don't even care, egg, bacon I'll take. Oatmeal with some sort of fat product. Put coconut oil in it, put our milk in it. What else? Yogurt. I love full fat yogurt for people with your own fruit. And fruit to start out with you guys in the morning is just sugar. So that's going to affect your blood sugar all the time. Because when we are going into perimenopause and menopausal, our progesterone goes down, our estrogen does this. Okay, so we're playing with something that's already going like this. So then if we throw in blood sugar, because we're not eating until 3 o'clock because we don't have time, no, then we're doing this to our own blood sugar, so then our hormones are nuts, and guess what? We're waking from 1 to 3 because that's liver time and spleen time. Those two work together, and you've just caused yourself some sleep problems in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. So if we kind of start to nourish ourselves, give ourselves some breaks between meals, get protein at every meal. These are all important. I'm a big on, no processed sugar. I don't care about your fruit sugar. Go ahead. Lots of protein, lots of fat, and, take some breaks, and water. Please, please, please drink a ton of water. And it is the one thing that we don't do as much. But these are all things that are going to affect your digestion. And when we can control the digestion, we can probably solve half of your health problems. And that takes a lot of stuff like acupuncture, chiropractor, all that. We would work together, movement, mental health. It all is our stress affects our spleen in Chinese medicine. The liver overrides the spleen and affects our guts. And then we have loose stools and we have gas and we have bloating. And these are all things when we can control our body system, we tend to digest better. And the best way to fix your digestion is, with support, of course, not off Instagram. Please don't just buy anything, you guys. Please don't do that. Instagram doctor does not work. Go to a specialist and kind of have someone check yourself out. Turmeric is not for everyone. That is not a thing, okay? It's good with other things. So these are things we just have to, so you go to people to kind of evaluate you, but also you eat lots of food and you eat 3 meals a day and try to eat as best as you can non-processed. Meat and veg, that's always a good plus. Yeah.
So for blood sugar, I recently just heard it can, because I was curious, I was like, oh my gosh, I keep getting up in the middle of the night to go pee. And so I was like, I'm drinking too much water. So I would stop drinking water at 7, and I'd still wake up. And then I learned that it could be my blood sugar.
Yes.
So I am someone, I go in and I go down a rabbit hole. So I was like, do I need to get a glucose monitor? one of those little one-touch things? Do I need to walk around like that? How can I figure out my levels of my blood sugar levels before I go to bed?
You're going to notice your blood sugar you're going to do those drops, right? That 3 p.m. drop is definitely a sign of some blood sugar off. And in Chinese medicine, that's a spleen deficiency sign. So we want to nourish the spleen. So the number one thing I would do, do you eat breakfast?
I do. I try to do really large meals. So I don't try to do just bacon and eggs.
Right.
I'll cook a Cornish hen early in the morning or eat corn with it and mashed potatoes. But then that could be probably the only meal I eat all day.
See, that alone, if you were my patient, I'd be like, I don't know, let's try 3 meals. Let's see if you'll sleep. And probably that's all we need to do, honestly. I mean, that is, people just don't understand. And we talked about this on the last panel, if you guys were there. Fasting studies are done on men. They're done on men. They're not done on women. Yes. And so when we start into perimenopause and menopause, and the things we do now, say you're not even close to that, the things you guys do now to control your blood sugar will make you fly through those things much easier. So the more support you use on your system now, and food is such a component. I'm like, if we just ate 3 meals a day, non-processed food, and actually slept 8 hours, half of your health problems will be solved. No kidding. But no one and de-stress. But like those are all like great things, but we can't always do them. I'm not the perfect eater. I'm not saying you have to do that, but you guys start at 3 meals a day. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is so important. Protein every meal, fat. Like get good fats in you, you know? And the other thing I would say, I'm just going to add, is caffeine. You guys, I do drink tea. I drink caffeine. You know, if you can do it not at all, great. If you can just do 1, stick to 1. If you go more and you're doing 3, this is what you're doing to your blood sugar every day. You're like getting the caffeine up, you do a hit, and then you get another hit, right? And then 2 o'clock, you're like, oh, I'm going to the coffee shop. Do you know the busiest time I just heard on a podcast? It's 2 to 3 in a coffee shop. You guys, no one should be doing caffeine at 3 o'clock because you are screwing up your whole night. So that's the other thing. And then you're screwing up your blood sugar. So if I'm going to give you 1 caffeine, everybody, preferably green tea. And that would be the idea. Then you stop doing this hit up and down. Glucose monitoring, just to point that, and I will end here. I do not love that because it makes people obsessed, and it's almost like an unhealthy thing. Like we're just watching it all the time on our phone, and oh my gosh. And then no one gives me symptoms of how they feel. They're just like, well, the blood sugar monitor, you know? And I'm like, I don't care about that. Tell me what you feel. Mm-hmm. So, long-winded.
Also, yes, but excellent knowledge. Can you also speak to why the girls need to stop drinking iced coffee?
Oh, Jesus. It's like no, you guys, no iced coffee. Is she in pain? She's in pain. Okay, you guys, ice things are very cold for the body. And remember how I said the spleen loves to digest warming things. So the best idea is room temperature to warm water. That's like your best. So when you're icing it up, it's kind of like when you ice an injury, right? You constrict it. And you are constricting your stomach from digestion. So you don't want these cold things. And then coffee is like this inferno in your gut. So like I always tell the people the levels. So if you have any constipation, loose stools, acid regurg, digestion issues, you are sticking it in fire in your gut first thing in the morning, even before food, most of you. And so you are setting your gut on fire, and then you're expecting it to maintain all day. And that doesn't work. So first you're doing, even though the coffee's cold, it's still an inferno because foods have temps, like watermelon's cooling, ginger's hot, same idea. So coffee's hot, and so you get this fiery, then you get this ice. So you're basically scraping the gut and then ice colding it. And that's how you're starting your morning. So please stop.
I do love some coffee.
I know. I give people 1 maybe, but really I kind of torture you guys and say green tea. Or I go to black tea, to be honest. So.
Is matcha exempt?
Matcha's green, so that's green tea. So I'm just don't do a ton of sugar in it. You know what I mean? I know it's all the goods, you guys, but just try to do it less and less. Do your half sugars. Or put honey in it. That would be your best because it's a natural sugar. Monk fruit is also they're looking at that better than stevia these days. And so, but honey would be the most ideal.
For sure. Wonderful. Excellent. Okay. Shanique, now we spoke about hormones play a significant role in the mental health, and yet, we know hormones play a significant role in mental health, and yet so many women are doing the right thing, right? We're eating well, we're moving our bodies, we're showing up consistently, but a lot of us still struggle silently. Still feeling anxious, low energy, disconnected, and just not really in tuned. And they, sometimes that's not a feeling you can explain. Sometimes it's just something you feel. What do you say to that woman sitting in this room right now?
Yeah, I would say try to identify the core belief that is underneath it all, because more than likely you're a high-functioning woman dealing with a complex past, and you're creating an extraordinary life, right? And you're doing that, or you've been able to do that through survival energy. And now you're asked to do it from peace, which is foreign, it feels weird, and you don't really trust it, right? Which kind of pushes you into over-functioning again. And with that, we tend to function over feel, or feel over function. And I feel like you can do both. I've cried and washed dishes at the same time. Killed two birds with one stone. It's possible to function and feel at the same time, but we usually choose one, and that can activate those core beliefs if we don't identify them and if we don't sit with them. So it's one thing to identify them and another to just sit with them. I'm all for feeling our feelings, feeling our feelings, because they're temporary. Even though they feel like they're gonna last for however long, they usually don't, or another feeling pops up. So I would say there's nothing wrong with you. You're just navigating life and trying to figure it out with core beliefs that formed in childhood that you might not know about. And now you are choosing self-care, checking off all the things on your list, and not taking the time to sit with what is underneath that's driving you to overfunction. And self-care can easily become self-avoidance when we're doing it to feel better and not addressing why we feel bad in the first place. So just taking time to sit with us, with ourselves, and identify what that belief is that is driving us to overfunction and do all the things.
So how do you identify the belief though?
Yeah, so there's an exercise. Well, I'm all for therapy, so therapy for sure, but also doing your own internal work. And there's an activity called the downward arrow exercise, where you say whatever that statement is that you keep thinking that you can't accomplish, or whatever that belief is, and you ask yourself, if that's true, what does that mean or say about me? And you keep doing that, and you'll end up at a core belief. So, for example, if I say, I've been going to this yoga class and nothing's working. I continue to still feel all these things and nothing's working, right? If I continue to show up to this yoga class, then what does that say about me? Well, it says that I am trying my best. I'm doing all the things right. Okay, if that's true, what does that mean about you? Well, that means that I have to continue to try and show up and do my best. If that's true, what is that? And you just keep working down, and eventually you might get to, if I don't show up and do my best, I'm not good enough. Or the only reason why I'm showing up is because I feel like I'm not good enough, so I have to keep over functioning to prove that the opposite is true. So sometimes just being able to acknowledge, and you can write out the different 5 core beliefs. I'm unlovable, not good enough, worthless, helpless, and the world is a dangerous place. For most of us, we live in America, the world is not the safest place right now. But when you write those down, I usually work with my clients and have them do it and just kind of write out things and moments, the evidence that proves that that belief is true. Well, yeah, I'm not good enough because I didn't get that promotion. I didn't, get that raise. My friend is no longer my friend anymore. I'm worthless because X, Y, and Z. And naming that and being able to sit with the feeling and not rushing to fix it, because we've proven we can fix it. We can go to that class, we can do that thing, but it's the work of just sitting with it and letting that feeling release from our body, and then going to the practitioners out of choice and want instead of a need. I have to go get this worked out. And then the next week, it's back. I still got to get it worked out, because the emotional part is still stored in your body. Mm-hmm. You haven't been able to sit long enough with that feeling, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to feel comfortable. You're not going to be like, yes, I feel unlovable right now, or I feel depressed, or I feel this. But you're feeling, and that's the point. Feelings are temporary. You're going to feel it, and it's going to shift. You're going to feel a new feeling. I can be mad right now, and in the next 10 minutes, I'm laughing at this cat video. And the next 10 minutes, I'm mad because my mom just called me with some, stuff. And then I feel something else. So we're always going to feel. But if we intentionally give ourselves that window of time to feel that feeling, then hopefully over time, through your body, you're releasing that. And you can do the things on that list from joy, from want, and not from a need, and from a place of, yeah. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and just to add to that, when I have patients that come in for knee pain, and we've worked 3-4 months on their knee pain. And it's like, it's just not getting better. Sometimes it becomes a point where I have to kind of step back and see, like, is this something that's being driven physically, you know, and kind of resorting back to the mental health professionals and like, okay, what other things in your life are going on that may be influencing your shoulder pain? You know, you've been working hard, you've been showing up, you're doing the things that I'm telling you to do. Like physically, you've gotten stronger, but this pain is unresolved. Let's go and take a look at acupuncture. Let's go and take a look at mental health and see what other things can be playing into the psychosocial aspect of your wellness and your overall just ability to feel better. So yeah, so always resorting back to that mental aspect because it's a huge driver of chronic pain. And you'd be surprised how many people just power through PT and don't improve. And it's like, okay, we need to take a break from PT and let's do something else. You know? So.
And just like with the fear of failure, there's a fear of success too. You can fear doing things well and continuing with that, where you actually start self-sabotaging. It's a thing too. Yeah.
That's a great point. Interesting. Very interesting questions. No? Okay. Before we close, I want to bring this full circle. So we moved through the cellular, the neurological, the physical, hormonal, and what's clear is that all these systems operate together and not in isolation. And it goes back to, the M3 formula of movement, meals, and mindfulness, especially as women, how we need everything in totality. So it's great that we work out, but we still got to eat well. It's great that we eat well, but we still have to talk out our feelings. We still need to schedule that crying hour. It's different components to wellness, not just one aspect. And, like I've been talking about it a lot lately, like there's so much going on in the world that you can only control what's in front of you, and that's you. And that's taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, physically, right? Even financially, giving your body what it needs and being proactive. Like if you have a little twinge in the shoulder, don't let it settle. Be proactive towards what it is that you need to do, because as we can see, it's just we're connecting the dots. It could be one thing that could easily lead to another. And I truly believe, especially nowadays, we have to really be focused in ourselves and what our body needs for longevity, right? Because there's a lot going on. And empathically, right? I think people, a lot of times as women, we take that on, and sometimes we don't really know what that feeling is, but I'm feeling you, I'm feeling my sis over here. And just being able to witness that or stand in that and say, okay, I need to take care of myself, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and I feel like we've all been there before. So in closing, I would like for each of you all to share a single essential message you want every woman to understand about her body, the way it works, the way it thrives, the way it evolves, that has yet to be covered. And then we'll answer any questions, comments, concerns.
I could go. I know I talked a lot about just the way that we show up and like the stuff underneath. And I think like a little catchy phrase that I say often is catch it, check it, and change it. So catch when anytime you shift and anytime you shift your emotional state, check in with or catch it, right? And then you want to check it. Is this something that is mine? Is this my feeling? Does this belong to me, or am I carrying someone else's stuff? And usually when you're talking with someone, there's an exchange of energy that's happening. And if they're walking off, skipping down the road, and you're like, wow, that was a lot. You just took on a lot of their stuff. So you want to catch when your mood shifts, you're outside your window of tolerance, which means next you're going to go into a hyper arousal state or hypo arousal state, fight, flight, or freeze. You're going to go into one of those states. So if you catch it early enough, you might not have to. And then you can check in with yourself. Is this mine? Is this something that I want to feel? If yes, is this the appropriate time to feel it while I'm at work in front of everyone? Or can I schedule a time to feel this later? And then change it. Change the environment, change who you're talking to, change your mindset about that thing, and then be able to just move through a little bit easier. So catch it, check it, change it. Yeah. 3 C's.
I love that. I'll follow through. I'll follow with that. I guess I have one that I always tell my patients that it's not your story. So how she's saying, like, is this yours? Like, check it. Like, this is all true. This is not your story. If there's a pain, a chronic pain, that's a knee pain. I think we talked about that earlier. Like this is not your life story. You're not going to be in chronic pain your whole life. So let go of these things and start positively thinking. I think we don't do that enough. And it's like, okay, maybe wake up every morning and be like, I am grateful for this, and I'm excited for this. Like, start your mornings off like that. It really shifts everything about your health, and people don't realize how much. Just doing a grateful list, not attaching that this is, I'm sick, and that is me. Please don't attach yourself to that. I think that's a really good thing to just practice and be like, this is my moment I'm living in now, but that is not the future. And I look forward to, I am ready to, I'm just using knee pain, not to be in pain anymore. I'm ready to run if you're a runner. Stuff like that.
Shift the narrative.
Shift the narrative. There you go.
Yeah, they hit the nail on the head. And I think we've talked about a lot of stuff, but the only other thing I would add from my perspective would be chiropractic perspective. You don't have to feel something, like you don't have to be in pain. You don't have to have a symptom necessarily to go in and seek out some of these things. Most of my patients do, like something brings them in, because a lot of people aren't just naturally going to a chiropractor just for fun. But some of my most consistent patients continue, and they come in and the first thing they say is, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm going to lay on this table and like let you figure it out. I'm like, okay. And like, usually nothing's wrong per se, but like I'm finding an emotion stored in their body, or they have less range of motion here and they didn't even know it. And so, yeah, that's what I would say, is you don't have to be suffering to go in and feel something, but you also don't have to do it like alone. There are people here to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from a physical therapy perspective, I would say less is more. Oftentimes with our physical health and our strength, we get caught up in this belief that you need to be exercising for an hour every day, doing this class, doing that. And that can just become overwhelming in addition to all the other things that you're managing in your life. So I tell people less is more. Focus on 1 to 2 exercises or 1 to 2 classes that you really enjoy, and just keep checking those boxes. Because what that does is it puts you into a flow state, and that flow state is calming to your nervous system as well. And that flow state, it taps into, we like predictability, we like stability, we like knowing what to expect. And, things that are in motion stay in motion. So movement is going to be very helpful to just our mental health, our well-being. So as long as we can keep checking those boxes and say, okay, I moved a little bit today. It may have been just 5 minutes. It may have been just 30 seconds of shoulder rolls, but I checked that box. That's a win, and hold on to that win and don't invalidate that when you feel like you should be doing more. So less is more.
That reminds me, real quick, that just reminds me that we are human beings, but we do all the time. We're not human doers. So allow yourself to be in community, be involved in the things that bring you joy. Just find places and people that allow you to just be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Questions, comments, concerns?
And also, as you get older as a woman, you can exercise every day because it will jack up your thyroid, right?
Potentially, yeah, for sure. And like it's not really realistic to be able to exercise every day. At some point, life will get in the way. So having that plan for when life does get in the way, or when maybe your physiological health is kind of shifting. Having a contingency plan. Okay, so I'll do just this little bit, but as long as I can stay in a good rhythm and a good flow, then you're going to win that way.
Closing comments? No. Wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies. I love these conversations. And so this was my whole purpose of curating Women of Wellness is again to be able to have space to have these conversations. Because I learned a lot today. So I know if I learned a lot, I'm in the field. I know hopefully everyone learned a lot. I think it's very important. And Women of Wellness San Francisco will be having more of these events. If you've already been to a few, thank you. If not, then no worries. Feel free to scan the QR code. That'll take you to our website and give you more information just about, all that we're about. It's a free community to join. And again, my whole purpose is for us to just be able to share this knowledge. Each one reach one, each one teach one. I stand by that. And I thank you all for being here and sharing this space and time. Thank you, Rachel, for guiding us through the wonderful yoga time. Thank you to all the wonderful panelists.
Thank you to you.
Yes, thank you. I love doing things like this. I thank you all, and until next time, please feel free to.